There's a place you don't talk about. A place where everything still moves, but you don't feel it anymore. You wake up, you dress, you eat, you respond. But inside, nothing stirs. The colors fade, the light flattens, the sound dulls, and the worst part, no one notices, because you still smile at the right time, still say all good with the same tone, but it's not good, it's gone. The energy, the spark, the sense that life is something you're part of, not just watching. This isn't depression, this isn't drama, this is the drift. The quiet disconnection that happens when you stop feeling your life and start just surviving it. The Stoics felt this too. They wrote about weariness, about emptiness, about standing in a world that kept spinning without asking how they felt, but they didn't run from it. They sat with it, faced it, cut into it, until something broke open. You don't need to fix this. You need to acknowledge it. The fire went out. That's real. Don't cover it. Don't call it growth. Don't pretend it's a phase. Look at the ash, the cold, feel it. Because only when you admit the color is gone can you start asking what burned it away. This is where it begins. Not in energy, not in purpose, but in honesty. Not the kind you post, the kind you whisper when no one's around. Something's missing and I want it back. Not because life is a gift, but because you forgot what it feels like to be awake inside of it. And now, you want to come back. Not loud, not fast, just back. Still present, built from the quiet where everything was lost and everything can begin again. You keep waiting for something to click, for a spark, for the return of that old energy. But it's not coming because it never left. It just went quiet. And now, it's your move. The Stoics didn't wake up feeling alive. They didn't wait for inspiration. They didn't chase emotion. They moved. Regardless, deliberately, quietly. Because life doesn't begin when you feel like it. It begins when you move. In spite of how you feel. You think the problem is that you lost your joy. But maybe the real issue is that you expected joy to come without discipline, to come without movement, without structure, without discomfort. Stop waiting to feel ready. Start walking. One tiny step, one act that says I'm not done. Even if you don't believe it, even if it feels fake, even if no one's watching. Especially then. You want to feel alive? Get out of the mental waiting room, where everything depends on a future shift that never arrives. You want light? Build it. With your hands, with your time, with your presence. Most people never recover, not because they're broken, but because they're passive. They hope healing comes like a knock at the door. But the Stoics, they didn't wait. They became the thing that moved forward while everyone else sat still. So don't wait, don't delay, don't romanticize the moment when it feels right, because the right moment was never meant to find you. You were meant to create it. Not loudly, not perfectly, just now and again, tomorrow and again, until your body remembers what your heart forgot. You're not empty, you're just out of rhythm. And the only way back is forward. You don't need motivation, you need rhythm. You need something that tells your body where to go when your mind gets too loud. The Stoics weren't chasing high energy, they built systems. Habits, routines, anchors, not because they were weak, but because they knew discipline is stronger than any emotion. When your thoughts spiral, routine stays. When your feelings crash, routine remains. It doesn't ask how you feel, it doesn't change with the weather, it just says, this is what we do, now go. And slowly you obey, not out of force, but out of need. Because the structure becomes your spine when everything else collapses. Wake up, same time, same stretch, same action, repeat it until your cells remember how it feels to have something reliable inside the chaos. Write, even if the words are empty. Walk, even if the path feels dull. Eat clean, even if you want to numb. This isn't for now. It's for the version of you that needs stability more than stimulation. The mind heals when the body moves. And structure, it's movement for your identity. Stop making your healing emotional. Make it mechanical. Make it boring. Make it sacred. Because it's not magic that pulls you back to life. It's a list, a habit, a schedule you follow until the light returns. Routine isn't control, it's compassion for the part of you that forgot how to hold on. Now, you don't need to hold, you just need to follow. One small step each day at the same time until you become unbreakable again. The world won't slow down for you to heal. It won't pause, it won't ask if you're ready, it won't wait. So stop expecting quiet and learn how to build it inside. The Stoics mastered this. They lived in empires filled with war, betrayal, noise, and yet they wrote, they thought, they breathed like monks in the middle of storms. Because stillness isn't outside, it's a decision, a refusal to flinch, to react, to give the world your pulse every time it pushes. Right now, you keep looking for calm conditions, but life won't hand you that. So build it anyway. Inside your ribcage, inside your eyes, inside the pause before you speak. Meditate, not for peace, but for power. Walk alone, not to escape, but to return. Write it down, not to explain, but to see clearly what's been swimming too long in your head. Stillness isn't silence, it's control, not of the world, but of the self that used to break at every trigger. So when it gets loud, breathe. When they talk, don't answer. When life pulls, don't flinch. Let it pass, let it burn, let it storm, but you don't move. That's not apathy. That's aim. That's discipline in motion, without needing to move. The strongest person isn't the one who fights back. It's the one who doesn't need to, because they've already won inside, where no one sees. But everything changes. You keep searching for that something. That spark, that shift, that moment when life finally feels full again. But it never comes. Not because you missed it, but because it was never out there. The Stoics never looked to the world for meaning. They looked inward, into their habits, their values, their quiet. They didn't find light. They built it, brick by brick, hour by hour, through practice, through reflection, through complete responsibility. You don't stumble into joy. You create the space for it, with what you stop doing, with who you stop chasing, with what you decide to give your focus to. The fire won't come back on its own. You have to build the fire pit. Every day. Even when the matches feel wet. Especially then, write your morning, own your evening, protect your midday. Not because it's trendy, but because your peace is a system that won't survive without care. So many wait for inspiration to change them, but inspiration is a liar when discipline is missing. Light isn't magic, it's architecture. Wake, move, create, reflect, eat, think, connect or disconnect, sleep, do it again and again. Until the structure you live inside feels like a place where something meaningful can finally stay. Happiness doesn't arrive, it emerges from routine, from clarity, from alignment. And the moment you stop looking for something to happen is the moment you realize you were always the one meant to build what you've been searching for. Piece by piece. In silence, with clean hands and zero applause. The light isn't lost, it's just waiting for your hands to build a place it can return to. Everyone talks about coming back to life, finding it again, feeling like yourself again, getting back to who you were. But maybe you're not supposed to go back. Maybe that version of you was never meant to survive the silence you've walked through. The Stoics didn't seek restoration, they sought reinvention. They didn't want to feel again. They wanted to build, to shape, to become. Because who you were before the darkness wasn't who you needed to be after it. And that's not failure, that's fire. You're not recovering, you're becoming. You're not restarting, you're redesigning. Stop calling this a comeback. It's not. It's a creation, a construction, a new code for how you live and breathe and walk into the next room without flinching. You don't get back to life, you create it. You don't wait for it, you don't remember it, you don't re-enter it. You lay the bricks, you plant the seeds, you write the hours with a new hand. And this time, it's not for them, it's not to prove, it's not to be seen, it's just for you. Because you stayed when it got cold, when it got quiet, when nothing in you believed this part would ever exist again. But it does, and it's here, and it's yours. Not borrowed, not reactive, not dependent. Yours. So breathe, not like you used to. Like someone who remembers what it's like to feel nothing and still show up anyway. The fire is back. But it looks different now. Less loud, more steady, the color returned, but this time you know how to protect it. Because this time, it's not a gift, it's a creation. And you built it.